Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you're having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first story is titled, I'll Taste It First. So, my ex-boyfriend was a lying, cheating piece of crap who gaslit me and took advantage of me financially. When I realized that he was cheating on me with multiple people, I hacked into his Grindr account, watched him arrange a sex date in our house, and showed up shortly after his date arrived. Walked in, asked his date if he fancies a threesome, he said no. Proceeded to ask if he, the date, wants a kiss, and the answer was positive, so I gave him a long, passionate French kiss in front of my ex. He got furious, I left. The next story is titled, Fire Me While I'm Sick? Say Goodbye to Books. So, I was working at an indie nursery, also known as a daycare, that was owned by a woman who I'll call Ursula. I've always loved kids, and I originally was going into the childcare field. I thought Ursula was a decent, understanding person, but I guess I was wrong. I've been sick with the flu for about a week. She knew this. We also had a team meeting, and I thought things were going fine. That was until yesterday. She texted me, asking if we could talk. She wouldn't go into detail until I let her call. She then said I wasn't a team player and made too many small mistakes. Instead of allowing me to do better or asking what mistakes I made, she just let me go. While I was sick. Now, I have ADHD and autism, so sometimes I do things that people don't understand. Usually, when that happens, the people in charge talk to me and I explain. I told Ursula this, and I thought she understood she needed to talk to me if something happened. I guess she thought this was easier. Now, on to the petty revenge. I'm a gift giver. My love language is gifting. So, I bought things for the nursery. Mainly books. Well, I asked the one coworker who I'm still friendly with if she could gather up the books and some other things I bought for the nursery. I guess Ursula saw this because she texted me. Ursula, why is coworker gathering up books? Me. I asked her to do that. Ursula, why? Me. Because I bought them? Ursula, but you gave them to us. Me. Yeah, but I still bought them. You also never reimbursed me for those items. Ursula, can't you just give them as a gift? Me. No, why would I gift them to someone who fired me? Ursula, but what about the kids? Me. Oh, the kids you didn't even let me say goodbye to? The kids I loved and don't get to ever see again? Ursula, you're being dramatic. Me. I could say the same for you. Stop texting me. She tried texting me a few more times, but I ignored her. I'm letting my coworker, who has a little girl of her own, keep most of the stuff. The next story is titled, Shenanigans on the Office Bully. There was a lady at an office I used to work at that was just an idiot to everyone. She had a small group of 3 other women who constantly seemed to have a different target for their bullying. Unfortunately, it was my turn weeks after I lost my dad and grandparents tragically and unexpectedly. I wasn't in a good place mentally and clearly, they smelled blood in the water. Only a couple of people that I was close with knew details of what happened, and were very supportive. But these grown-ass women would walk by my desk and very loudly say things like, I mean, if she's that miserable, why doesn't she just quit? Or, why does she always look like she's going to cry? The lead bully even approached me outside of work and told me that she thought it was disrespectful that I didn't smile at her when she walked by my desk. I just put my middle finger inches from her face and kept walking. She tried to get me fired for that. Anyway, the friends that I had there were pissed at the way they were treating me, but the HBIC worked for one of the big partners and was close to the office manager. No point in complaining to anyone. So, we hatched a plan to make the lead bully go crazy. We enlisted the help of several others who had a sense of humor and couldn't stand her and them. It's stupid really, but it was hilarious to us. We all made it a point when we were near her to sniff the air and make a face that something smelled bad. Sometimes give her a subtle look like it was her that smelled. The mail guy asked her if she smelled something when she dropped off papers to be scanned. We anonymously left an air freshener on a filing cabinet across from her desk. Little things like that. We kept it up for months, even after I left the job, and would enlist other people when the opportunity arose. We started noticing her smelling her armpits when she thought no one was looking, spraying perfume when she went to the ladies' room, keeping scented lotions on her desk, and maybe unrelated, but she took a day off to go to the doctor. I know it was just small, petty revenge, but it was fun getting in her head like that. The next story is titled, Don't Block My Car In. So, my wife and I live in an old Victorian-style house in a college town split into 2 apartments. our 2-bedroom downstairs and a 4-bedroom upstairs. The first year, it was occupied by nursing students, who were great. They all finished their rotations and moved out, and we got a set of MBA students who were douches. At first we thought, oh, they're young, we'll politely complain when they don't clean up their dog crap, have a Tuesday night kegger, play COD so loud it rattles our windows, they'll figure it out and it'll be okay. Well, it wasn't. Their response to our requests were annoyance and non-compliance, which opened the door up for me to engage in passive-aggressive revenge tactics, and I have many stories from the year they resided above us. One Monday morning, after a raging party upstairs, I came outside to find my car parked in by the upstairs neighbor my wife had nicknamed Cunt Hammer, CH for short. Now, in the lease we had exclusive use of the driveway. Upstairs we're supposed to park on the street. However, they often parked behind us when street parking was scarce. So, I knocked on the door to get them to move the car so I could go to work. Only there's a problem. CH has left that morning on spring break vacation. He won't be back for 2 weeks. After I had recovered from contemplating exactly how much of a syphilis-ridden wanksock of a human being you would have to be to illegally park in your downstairs neighbor and then leave for 2 weeks, I rang the non-emergency police line and explained my situation. They tried to contact CH to no avail, so my legal recourse was to have the car towed to a legal vacant spot on the street at my own expense, which, given I had to go to work, was what I would have to do. While I was waiting for the tow truck, I hatched a mature and a juvenile revenge plan. Juvenile plan first. I got a bottle of DOT3 brake fluid and a rag out, and utilizing the extent of my artistic abilities, painted a big old cock and balls on the hood with a pew of pee going over the roof, and left it to bake in. The mature part of the plan came to fruition when the tow truck arrived. Our city has a penchant for street sweeping and tows cars enthusiastically when doing so. They had just put up signs down one side of our street notifying that they would be sweeping in 4 days. I reserved a spot that side of the road for CH's car and had the driver put it there. I let him in on the plan as he was contracted to tow cars for the city that day. He giggled a lot at my slowly emerging cock and balls artwork and said he'd try and pick up CH's car early, knowing that if he was away for 2 weeks, his company would be able to rack up a nice storage fee. The day came, and the tow driver who moved the car came straight to CH's car and towed it. I had dropped a note in CH's letterbox explaining, without being rude, that he had parked me in and I had to have his car moved at my expense so I could go to work. Cue him coming back and furiously pounding on my door. "Where's my ducking car?" he demanded. I explained I had moved it to the other side of the street into a legal car space because neither the police nor I could contact him. The city had swept the street last Thursday. They had towed it. He'd need to call the city. He stormed off, furious, only to return a few hours later. Apparently the combination of the city's fine, the tow fee, and 10 days storage totaled over $1,000. And his car had been hilariously vandalized at the tow yard. He demanded I pay. I politely declined, suggesting that he might try small claims court if he could demonstrate I'd done anything I was liable for. He never took me up on the offer. The artwork had come out great. The car had been left in the rain, so the giant prick on the hood of his beat-up Civic had rusted in. Apparently, it even earned him the nickname Prick Wheels in class. The next story is titled Revenge for a Nightmare Year. When I, 27M, was 18 years old, I was a cook at a pub. I worked with this 30-year-old man who was also a cook. He used to bully me a lot. He was the new cook who was quick to condescend me, make fun, and just wasn't nice to me. And only me. He treated everyone else respectfully. I worked with him for a year, and every day was the same. I started dreading going in. He would brag a lot about his Japanese imported knife, and he got me to clean it for him. I ended up dropping it by accident, and he blew up at me, calling me names, and harassed me more than usual for the rest of the day. He also bragged about his Volkswagen Bug. He loved that bug. I talked to my boss about him, so he scheduled us to not work together. I worked morning shift and he worked the night shift. I couldn't completely get away from him because we had to work together when transitioning from morning to night shift. One day, I was just ending my morning shift and he was starting his night shift. Before I was leaving, he pretended to stab me with his knife. I was shocked and told him not to do that. He laughed at me and thought it was funny. I got mad. That was the last straw. When I got home, my mom and her boyfriend knew I was mad, and they asked what happened. I told them, and my mom's boyfriend had the idea to grab dog poo from the backyard and smear it on his Volkswagen door handle and vents. In a fit of rage, I was willing to do anything to get a little revenge for the past year. At the time, the idea sounded brilliant. So, I grabbed a plastic bag, picked up the poop, and drove to his car. I smeared his door handles and vents and took off back home. The next day, everybody at work heard the story and asked if it was me. I denied everything, and nobody could prove it was me. He left me alone after that, and I quit shortly after. The next story is titled, Stop Browsing Porn. Back in the late 90s, I worked for a small construction company as the office manager. My background was as a computer programmer, and this was the job I had when I finished school. The owner of the company hired his son to be the company's safety officer. A very non-strenuous job if everything was being done properly, and as far as safety went, he was good at it. But most of the time he spent sitting in his office browsing the internet, or, in his case, porn. I knew it, his father knew it, and the vice president knew it, but nothing was said beyond my comments that those sites were loaded with viruses. Cue maliciousness. One day, the safety officer went to a job site, leaving his computer up, and signed in. My chance. I went into his office and took a screenshot of his computer desktop, moved his start button to the side of the screen, and setting it to hide. Set his background image to a blank screen, and turned off his icons. Then sat back to see what would happen. He came back to the office, sat down to play a game of solitaire, and panic ensued. I let him worry over it for 10 to 15 minutes before I came in, looked over things, and proceeded to read him the riot act over how he had been told multiple times about going to those sites, especially on his work laptop. About that time, his father, the company owner, who was in on my scheme, asked what was wrong. I angrily explained that his son had gotten the ID10T virus by surfing porn sites, to which Dad read his son the riot act. We let him stew for a couple of hours while I worked on his laptop, played solitaire, occasionally muttering loudly what a dumbass he was, couldn't follow instructions, etc. Finally, I brought his laptop back to him, saying his system was toast, to which his father replied that it was coming out of his pay. The look on his face was priceless. Then, I sat it down in front of him, everything running perfectly, and a new high score on solitaire showing on the screen. I miss working there. Unfortunately, the owner sold the company to a third-party management firm that ran it into the ground and sold everything it could and shut the company down. The last story is titled, Can I Get Some Love from This Sub for This One? Hi guys, I'm a teacher and times are tough for us. I'm going to keep specifics out, but I would really appreciate some love if possible. It's been a rough week. A few years ago, my teaching department, 4, including me, kind of ganged up on me. Decided I didn't fit into their friend group or whatever and started talking crap and whatnot. I work in a high school, so I was used to this, but it usually came from the kids. Not going to act like I wasn't hurt, because I was. I thought of these people as friends, and they were being petty and rude. Many comments were made about how I was a bad teacher, etc., but after being mad, I tried to move on and consider them coworkers instead of friends. About a year ago, the state announced a new incentive for teachers. If you achieved this ranking from the state, you got a monetary bonus for the next few years and could obviously add the title to your resume. I decided then and there to work my ass off to get the title. I wanted to prove to my department that I was a good teacher. Obviously, I had money and achievement to gain too, but I really wanted to be the only teacher in my department to get it, so they couldn't argue with it. So, I worked. I put in the hours, and I did everything required. We all worked for it. It's a lot of stuff to do, but I had a childish part that wanted to do it better. Anyway, the rankings came out today. I scored highest in my department, and only one other one got the bonus. The two that ran their mouths the most about me, they got nothing. Obviously, they are now pissed and saying that the system is screwed up and yada yada yada. I know it's not so much revenge, maybe, but I did it, and they didn't. Today, I won. I hope you all get your win too. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already.